Hi, I'm Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. Oh my gosh, take a look at this quilt behind us. It's the Missouri Star. I am so excited to bring this to you. Of course, you know, that's what our shop is named after, but this has always been kind of a difficult block. But I think I've figured out a way to make it easy. So what you're going to need if you're going to make this quilt is you're going to need a layer cake. A layer cake of color. I actually have some layer cake squares here, but I opened them all up and used them. So I brought this line in a fat quarter bundle to show you, which you can use a fat quarter bundle. You just have to cut it up a lot. But I use a layer cake and then some background yardage. You're going to need about 3 yards of background yardage. And it's going to make a quilt that is, I think this is like, oh gosh, 80 by 90. Yeah, actually 80 by 97, so it's a pretty good size quilt. The fabric we used is rustic weave, and it's beautiful. I just love it. But of course, a Missouri Star will look beautiful with anything. So to make this block, what you're going to need is 3 layer cake squares, and you're going to want kind of a light, medium, dark, a little bit of contrast there. You're going to need 1 solid background color 10-inch square. You're going to need 4 6¼ inch squares. These are the squares for the corners. And then you're going to need 4 7-inch squares. And those are the ones that we're going to set our half square triangles on, our quarter square triangles on. So let's get to this. This is really fun. So for the middle part of the block, the center, which is this one right here, we are going to do it just like we do our half square triangles. But this has to be cut down to 9½. So what I've done here is I've laid my 2 blocks together. And I'm just going to cut 1/2 inch off 2 sides like this. There's one side. And here's the other side over here. And then we're going to sew all the way around it, just like we do for our half square triangles, and cut it diagonally both directions. So let's head on over to the sewing machine. All right, here we go. Oh, hang on. There we go. I'm so excited to do this. It's so fun when you find a way to make a block that actually makes sense. You know, some of these instructions, you know, you look at them and it's like, you know, they just get so complicated looking. But this makes this really easy to do. All right, now what we're going to do is we are going to cut this diagonally both directions. And so I'm just going to cut here, and I'm going to turn these. Try not to move them too much. Use a rotating mat if you have one. That makes it a lot easier. All right, now what we're going to do is we are going to iron these open. There we go. And I just leave the dark fabric on the top, and then I can just lift it up and roll that back. So then this is the middle of our block. So what we're going to do now is put this together like this with all the whites to the center, and that's going to make the middle of our block. So let's go ahead and put that together. Okay, so now we just have to sew these blocks together. I have the white on white, and we're just going to sew 1/4 inch. And then these two, we'll just chain piece them right through. Then I'm going to clip these apart, and then I'm going to sew the 2 pieces together here like this. Lay them out so you can see them. We're just going to fold these together like this and sew these. Now you want to make sure that when your blocks come out, they come out pretty close to 6 1/4. It helps to make your block lay really nicely if your blocks come out to about 6 1/4, and you can square them up if you want. Mine looked pretty good, so I didn't bother with that. But you may want to check yours and make sure that they measure out at 6 1/4. All right, so this is the center of our block. Now we have to do the half square triangles, and this is really fun because this is a really easy way to do half square triangles. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take my two 10-inch layer cake squares right here, and I'm going to cut them into fourths. So I'm going to lay my ruler on there, and I'm going to make one cut here, and I'm cutting in 5 inches because these are 10-inch squares, and I want to cut them right in half both directions. And I'm going to leave them together in pairs, just like this. I'm going to leave them together. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the sewing machine, and I'm just going to sew on the sides like this on all 4 blocks. So I'm just going to stack them up like this and take them to the sewing machine and sew just the sides. All right, and I chain piece these as I go along. All right, so now I'm at the end of the first side. I've done all these sides. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this around, and I'm going to do the other sides. All right, now we're going to clip these apart like this. And this is going to make our quarter square triangles. So now what you want to do, this is important, is we're going to lay 2 sets of these on top of each other with our side stitching. You can see we've only stitched on the sides. So we just have the side stitching done on this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that the colors, both greens are facing up, or your same colors are facing up. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cut one set going this way and one set going this way. So I have two in this little pile, and I'm going to cut these 2 this direction. And I just lay my ruler on the corners. And then these 2 I'm going to cut the opposite direction. This one needs to be stacked a little better. You want to make sure they're stacked pretty well. And so then I'm laying my ruler on this one this way. What this should do for you is it should give you 4 triangles. These are quarter square triangles now that go with the green on the right from this stack, like this. And then 4 over here with the green on the left. There we go. So you get 2 sets of opposite triangles just from sewing on the side and making one diagonal cut. And I just think that's pretty cool. That's a fun little trick way to do that, get a quarter square triangle. So now we have these 2. Now what we need to do is we're going to take our 7-inch squares. We should have 4 of those. And we're just going to cut those on the diagonal. Let me make sure these get lined up real good. You can do this in one cut if you have them lined up well. Like this. And that's going to give you 8 triangles like this. What we're going to do then is we're going to go ahead and press these, but we are going to sew one of these to each of these white triangles. So we'll put our white on the bottom and lay our triangle on top, and then we're just going to sew 1/4 inch right down this side. Now I have some I've started over here, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this pile up. These are my pink and yellow ones, and I've got a couple, and I'm just going to chain piece these through just like I would normally chain piece anything. So I'm going to finish up these 3, and we'll show you where to go from there. So let's head to the sewing machine. All right, let's see what we got now. There we go. Now when you get done with these, you'll have 8 of these. And you're going to want to take them to the iron and iron them open like this. And then we have to square these. And I'm going to show you the easiest way I've found to do that. So to square these, you're going to want a square that has a 45 on it, and this one has the measurements, like they're going to square up to 6 1/4. So what I'm going to do, because I don't really want to mess with my quarter square triangle, I'm going to lay this over here, and I'm going to put my 45 line on the seam line of my quarter square triangle. I'm going to move this in until it hits 4 1/4 on both sides right there. And then this white part is the part I'm going to trim off. And I'm not sure why, but it always comes out kind of funny big on just one side. So now my square is trimmed up to 6 1/4. And sometimes, you know, you've got to square things up if you want to make your blocks fit exactly right. And this is one of those that you want it to fit right. So we got a little shaving on both sides of that one. Let me get that corner off right there. And one more. And this is just really important. You know, a lot of times people talk about squaring up blocks, and I don't do a lot of squaring, because once you square up one, you have to square them all up. But this is one you want it to lay together really nice. Because there's so many bias seams, you know, you just want it to lay together nice and have it not be all wonky and warbly. There we go. All right, so 6 1/4. Now we get to start assembling. So here's our block right here in the middle, and I like to do this where I can just, you know, see it. I kind of lay it out and then I put them together. So for these right here, generally the Missouri Star is laid out dark, light, dark. So we're going to put our light squares to the middle this way. Wait, this way. And wait, this is important first. First, you need to make sure you stack your squares up so that you've got one set of blocks where the yellow's on the right and one set of blocks where the yellow's on the left. Because for each one of these, you're going to take one of each. So we're going to put one from the left, one from the right, one from the left, one from the right, like this. One from the left, one from the right. You can see this star's coming. You can see it's happening. One from the left, one from the left this way. Your whites meet in the middle. Because I'm so angrily challenged, I have to remember all this. So my whites are going to meet in the middle. So now I'm going to sew all 4 of these together. And then on 2 of them, they'll get a corner square right here. And that makes our whole block right there. And what I like to do is I just like to sew them together in rows. Look at that, a Missouri Star. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and sew all of these sets of 2s together right here. So I'm just going to pile those up and sew them together with my whites like this, making sure that the yellow is right here in the middle, because I want my light to be in the middle. So I'm going to do that with all 4 of these, and then we'll start putting rows together. So now I've got my groups sewn together. I went ahead and pressed them. I've laid them back in the star so you can see how it's all going to go. And now what we have to do is sew the rows together. There are 3 rows. We've got the 2 outer rows right here and this big one in the middle. And this big one, basically we're just going to lay it on here and sew the pieces over. For these small rows, we have this center section that we are attaching 2 6 1/4 inch blocks on either end of both of those rows. And then we'll just attach them right together. So let's get over to the sewing machine and do that. right, we're so close. We've got all our pieces sewn together. Now we just get to assemble our star. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to put these side pieces onto this middle piece right here. And it's cool because you want to make sure that on each little junction, it helps you, it just keeps you lined up. So if you have a seam that's actually going the wrong way when you nest them, just go ahead and move it and nest it together. And you want these things to lay flat, and we can iron those seams the way we want them to go after we're done. But right now what we're going to do is we're just going to sew these 3 rows together. All right, so now we've got this all sewn together. We need to press it a little bit. So let's just bring it over here and press it out. Oh, I love this. It's so cute. Look at that. I love this Missouri Star block. Of course, I'm a little prejudiced, you know. It does have a special place in my heart, but it's so cute. So let's talk about the quilt for a minute. We have put 3 blocks across by 4 blocks down. We just did a little 3-inch border. I mean, you can do any size border you want, but we just want something to kind of frame it a little bit. Goes together quick and easy. If you decide that you just want to make one because you just want one Missouri Star, it makes a darling wall hanging, really a cute wall hanging. I even think if you bordered this a couple of times, it would make a really cute baby quilt. So we hope you enjoyed this tutorial on the Missouri Star Quilt block from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. Thanks for joining us.